Hello again. My name is Wes Sanderson. Thanks for coming by and checking out these videos. I'm having a lot of fun recording these. Hope you're getting some value out of them. Make sure to drop a comment if you have any suggestions on other videos you'd like to see, any feedback in general. Let me fix my shirt there a little. All right. So today I want to talk about scaling a music project as a solo artist without a band. Essentially, I'm just going to give you the blueprint of how I do my project because that's what I know best. And I think it might be valuable because I'm just a guitarist first and foremost. I don't sing. I don't record drums at home. I have recorded bass at home on one or two songs, but really I'm just a guitarist. And I've been able to scale my solo project for the last 4 years by consistently releasing singles with different featured artists from all over the country on every single song. So I'm averaging about 3 songs or 3 releases a year. And that may not seem like a lot, but I think it's a pretty healthy pace. And most importantly, it's one I can consistently produce and keep going. So one of the first things you definitely want to consider if you're doing any sort of music project, especially if you're doing it on your own, and you gotta wear a lot of hats like producer, executive producer, project manager, coordinating with collaborators and different production schedules and having multiple songs going on in the process. So you have to make sure first and foremost before you think about scaling is what is a comfortable pace you can maintain to keep it growing. Not just to float, but you want to grow, you want to scale. And I'm just going to make that assumption because otherwise, why even try? So for me, I wanted to always be as aggressive and frequent as possible with releasing singles. And after 4 years now, I've just found that about 3 songs a year is something I can consistently do and do it well. You don't want to do too many singles and then have the quality suffer. So you have to find that sweet spot of what is going to be able to yield the highest quality content that you can produce, and then also what you can continue to produce time and time again. So I am ramping that up a little bit. I may end 2022 with 4 new singles and maybe 1 remix, but I'll dive into how that's possible in this video as well. So again, I'm a guitarist, so the number one thing I would say that has helped me scale and keep this music project moving forward at a pace that's aggressive yet achievable is being able to record at home. So find a way, whether you're a singer, guitarist, drummer, whatever, having a home recording setup is crucial. I'm embarrassed to say it took me so long to figure that out, and I won't say thank God for COVID, but if it weren't for the pandemic and being locked up at home and all the music studios not taking clients, I may not have ever ripped the Band-Aid off and finally learned how to record guitars at home. So that was about 2 years ago. So about halfway through the inception of my solo project to present day, really flipped the switch. And honestly, if I hadn't done that, I don't know if I'd still be able to do as many singles as I'm doing now. But that is 100% crucial. I'll leave some of the gear that I use in the comments if you're a guitarist. But basically, all it really came down to is getting a good audio interface, the Scarlett 2i2 3rd Gen. Getting a DAW, a digital audio workshop. I use Ableton Live, and then using plugins. I live in an apartment, as you could probably tell, but so I can't really properly mic up my amp and get good tones and recordings that way. So, but the plugin game is strong these days. So I use Bias Effects too. They have probably like 100 amp models, and I have a pedal plugin as well with probably a couple dozen different types of effects pedals, distortion, modulation, things like that. So really the equipment is not that intense. It was so much easier than I always thought in my head it would be. So figure out a way, drinking too much coffee. Figure out a way to record at home. That's going to allow you to also keep multiple projects in motion. So that I would say that's the number 2 thing for me, in addition to recording at home, that has allowed me to scale and keep this project going. And that's having multiple projects going on simultaneously. So if you're on your own, you're solo, you don't have a band, that means you're going to be probably working with a lot of different types of people. So for me, the most of the people I work with and collaborate with on my songs are touring musicians. So a lot of times I'm at the mercy of their schedule. So by having multiple demos in the works, having them passed off to different collaborators at different stages in the song, allows me to overall still pursue or still maintain the pace that I'd like to keep on for releasing singles. So that's huge, is just having multiple demos going on. So that kind of goes into my next point, which is keeping a very consistent production schedule. That was something I didn't really do much of early on when I was doing this on my own. I probably did like 3 or 4 studio sessions a year, and just like did monster studio sessions, and got a lot of demos laid out and groundwork laid for songs. But it was like sort of do a bunch of work one time, try to get collaborators on board, wait for them, and then take it from there. So that isn't really the most efficient process I had learned. So being able to record at home allows you to dictate your own production schedule. So for me, that's usually evenings after work, in the gym, long day. It's really therapeutic for me to have a creative outlet and just sort of cleanse your brain from all the bullshit of the day if you had a rough day, and have a creative outlet, and then kind of wind down the night after that. That's just what works for me. But the whole point is being consistent with it, so you can continually make progress on your songs, and then eventually bounce them to other people. So I would say that's a third point, is having a consistent recording or production schedule. Some other things you're gonna have to figure out or keep in mind as you're doing a solo project on your own is file management. I think that's a vastly underrated skill set to have, and it sounds so reductive and basic, but it really isn't. So I use Dropbox for all my file management, and having nicely organized folders and organized files, especially your stems. If you don't know what those are, that's just a collection of tracks for each part of your song. So you'll have your guitar stems, drum, bass, vocal stems. But within those stems, you're going to have a collection of tracks most of the time. For drums, you could have 12 tracks, different mic, which are usually just labeled as the different mics and what drum parts they're recording. But so having good file organization, especially because you're going to be sharing files with other people, that other different people are going to be sharing files with you. So having like a good naming convention is huge. One thing that comes to mind right off the bat is just always putting the BPM, beats per minute, in the file name, especially mostly just for the bounces. I don't always do it on the stem track, on the stem files, but any sort of like reference tracks or bounces, always put the BPM in them. And then when you're sharing files too with other musicians or producers and engineers, always have each file bounced from 0. So that's something that will drive people insane and make them not want to work with you if you don't do it. And I definitely learned that the hard way, as almost any artist does with this type of stuff. So what I mean by that is, like, if you're bouncing a session in Ableton or Pro Tools or whatever, and you have 6 guitar tracks you want to bounce, but 3 of them, maybe a couple of them, only have guitar recording a certain portion of the song. Let's say a breakdown at 2.5 minutes into the song. Even though that track only has audio at, let's say, minute 2, 2 minutes and 30 seconds, always you're going to want to bounce that file from 0, the very beginning of the track. So when an engineer or a producer imports them, so they can start mixing or putting their work onto it, all they have to do is import all the files, and they're all lined up properly. So I've had artists send me files that weren't bounced from zero. That's always something that comes up, though. So you want to make sure that's on point. So what else? File management. Being a good communicator is going to be super crucial. And just kind of knowing the way you talk to a producer might be different than the way you talk to a vocalist. You know, the vocalist is going to have a more creative contribution to the song, and they may feel more passionately about what you do with their track. So being very accommodating and understanding and communicative with the different collaborators is going to be huge. No one wants to work with people that are difficult to work with. So if you want to scale any sort of individual solo project, your communication game has to be on point. I always err on the side of professionalism, even if, you know, you don't receive it in return. You know, some artists don't have the best grammar or write complete sentences or get back to you in time, but that's them and that's not you. So do what works for you. For me, that's always being professional at all times, even if it's not necessary or potentially overkill. What else? So yeah, communication. Having contracts is always a good thing to keep in mind. That's something I'm not the best at, but I'm getting better. So if you have different contributors to the track, studio musicians, featured artists, co-writers, which is going to happen if you're on your own and you're trying to keep a music project scalable. So by contracts, typically that means work for hire, which is what I try to do for most collaborators. But sometimes if I'm giving a ownership stake or songwriter credit, I don't feel as compelled to do it, because that means they're going to have ownership in the song, and you're kind of protected that way. But there's no ownership given or songwriter credit or anything like that. Always try to have like good contracts in place, or some sort of like official written communication that you own the song and you have the rights to do whatever you want to do with that song in perpetuity across the universe, is sort of the legal jargon behind that. Yeah, so contracts, professionalism, it's a lot of work. There's a lot of pieces involved, and there's a lot of different types of people you're going to have to interact with. So I think in life, there's always like certain relationships that you just want to keep really good. You know, like a good car mechanic, a good maintenance person in your building, like your doctor. You know, there's like people that you're going to need to help you out, that you want to have good relationships with. So if you're on your own and you're producing a music project and you're trying to grow it, there's going to be some key relationships that you want to maintain. And for me, that's a producer, an engineer, hands down. I'll just shout out Nate Lanzino from Right Way Studios here in Baltimore. He's been my number one right-hand man since day one, really. Pretty much, I would be able to, in the early days of the solo project, with the first demos I had, I basically just came into the studio with him with my guitar ideas, started tracking those, and then he just helped me take the vision to life. So if you're not sure like how to get from start to finish, that's fine. That's totally normal. Just find people and try to build relationships with those people that can help you take that demo idea or whatever and bring that vision to life into a completed project. Graphic designers are always going to be good to know. I have a couple that I know personally that I use every now and then, now and again on some of my songs. Producers, mixers. Sometimes they're different people, sometimes they do both. And then there's some, as more recently, I've been using different platforms to get certain aspects of my projects finished. So Fiverr is always great for graphic design, video design. It's usually cheaper, and honestly, like I've had really good success using that. The last couple cover arts I've used from people on Fiverr. My last couple videos were from Fiverr. So it's totally legit, and that's something you can get a really quick turnaround time on. And if in terms of finding artists and music industry pros, like if you live in, you know, middle of nowhere Oklahoma and there's no music studio in town, you can still get shit done. So a site I've been using is called soundbetter.com. It's owned by Spotify, I believe. It may be independent, but it used to be owned by Spotify. I don't know, but basically it's kind of like Fiverr, but for super legit industry pros. So you can search and filter people by profession. So you can filter producers, mixing engineers, and then you can also filter by studio musicians if you need like a drummer, a guitarist, and vocalist. So I've had pretty good success with that as well. And that's the benefit of using platforms and third parties like that, is that it's all legit, and you know when the turnaround's going to be. You know, everything is very clearly laid out, what the price is, what the project entails, what the turnaround time is. So it's very nice in that way. I guess for me, the reason I don't go to them as much is because I like having a personal touch in building relationships with people that I am creating this art with. So using those platforms doesn't really lend itself to having more like organic relationships and like longer term relationships. That's okay. That's just how it goes sometimes. The vocals on my most recent single, Heartbreaker, I found through Sound Better. The vocalist from Victory of the People, Bev Hamilton, she was from Sound Better. So, you know, you can still make friends with those people, but they're kind of there to just get a paycheck and get on with their life. So that's one thing to consider. So there's a lot of moving parts. If you want to scale a music project by yourself and you don't have a band, you're going to get frustrated and there's going to be a lot of letdowns. So be prepared for that. But that's why one of my main points was to keep multiple projects going simultaneously. Because you'll have people that will say they're 100% down, gonna get you their stuff any day now, and then fall off the face of the earth. So don't ever put your eggs all in one basket with any sort of collaboration or things like that. Things can always change. Like a quick anecdote on my single Victory of the People, I had a Nashville singer who was signed with the label, pretty legit label. A buddy of mine is his booking agent. So we talked on the phone, talked about the lyrics and the vision of the song and all that. And he said he was down, and then like didn't hear anything for 2 weeks, followed up, and then said he'd get back to me. And then like basically a month went by just to be told that his label poo-pooed it and didn't want him to do anything outside of their ownership. So basically just wasted a month and got nothing out of it. So you know, there's not necessarily a direct lesson from that for me, other than just keeping lines of communication open with other artists and stuff like that. And don't be afraid to reach out to people and just say, and if it doesn't work out, you want in another direction, that's fine. Just be direct and open. Like no one's gonna be pissed at you for that. And if they are, then they're probably an asshole. So yeah, it's a lot of work. To be honest, but with that, you get all you get to reap all the rewards of that work as well. So, for me, one thing I really like is there's no democracy. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say that because I'm very accommodating to other artists' input on my songs, and you should be too if you're collaborating with other people. A lot of times, other people's ideas are better than your own, and it's really easy to get attached to a song and not see it from a different point of view. So just trying to be very mindful of keeping an open mind is going to be huge, because if I didn't have these collaborators from all different walks of life and different musical backgrounds and things like that, all my shit would sound the same, and that would be boring. So I know all my guitar riffs, you know, by now most people can kind of tell what my style is and things like that. But what's really cool and exciting when you're doing something like I'm doing, or if you're trying to build something on your own, is that having an open mind and giving your collaborators the freedom and the bandwidth to put their spin on it. I would say nine out of 10 times you're always going to get something better. That's just how it goes. Your teamwork, it makes the dream work, you know. So it's kind of fun on each new song to be able to have fresh sets of ears, fresh collaborators, you know, people from different backgrounds and musical genres and things like that. So that's what also keeps it super exciting as well. Is like every new song is a chance to make new relationships, cover new ground musically, learn new things, and just be a better, more well-rounded musician overall. So it's a lot of fun. I think it's more common these days too. Like, I mean, shit, Travis Barker releases music and he's a drummer. So like if drummers can have their own solo music projects, then you can too. So don't get discouraged, or if you feel overwhelmed, you know, hopefully this video sort of has given you a blueprint of what you need to learn on your own, and sort of who you need to connect with, and some other just mindful tips and things like that to get the ball rolling. But shout off in the comments, or shoot me an email, or hit me up if you have any questions, or want more detail on any sort of aspect of doing a solo music project and having multiple collaborators on board, things like that. But it's a lot of fun. I mean, I've been doing it, I can't believe, for almost half a decade already, and I have over a dozen releases. Just a month or two ago, my total Spotify streams broke 500,000, which is fucking awesome. But again, that's a lot of it has to do with the collaborators. So everyone's doing features these days too. Even like full bands are having drummers featured on a song, even though they have a drummer in the band. So like it's just the way of the world these days, and I'm happy to have maybe been an early adapter. I don't think collaborations were as big, at least in the genres I usually make music in like 2018, in the late 2010s. So it's everyone's doing it these days. Hop on board. It's fun. You make friends and get to share each other's audiences and things like that. So best of luck to anyone out there that's trying to do it on their own without a band. It's overwhelming, and it can be challenging and really overwhelming at times. So just keep going. Watch. Hopefully this video is giving you the tips and tricks to be better prepared to handle that and move forward. And also, please make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you have comments or ideas on other videos you want to hear me talk about, fire them off in the comments. Hit me up on social media or whatever. Thanks for checking this out. I hope this was helpful. My name again is Wes Anderson. Have a great day. Peace.